At Zarek, we love the fact that when you wear a mechanical watch, you have this living machine constantly working on your wrist. We're big fans of showing those mechanics, but one component that often gets overlooked is the rotor that's seated underneath the watch. The rotor is constantly moving and winding the watch as you wear it, but this motion is rarely appreciated since it's only seen on the underside of the watch. In an effort to showcase this mesmerizing component of automatic timepieces, we introduced the limited edition Inverter 2 Automatic. We developed a watch that allows you to see the rotor at the top of the dial, while also reading the time in a side viewing window, similar to retro driving watches. A glance through the top sapphire crystal shows our custom crafted rotor, complete with
Pretty
striking
impressive.
superluminova seen in the dark.
What's that?
The watch is
Watch on
powered by a
Kickstarter.
skeletonized Japanese automatic movement on full display through the crystal. The space pod-like case features a side viewing window that tells the time in a unique linear format. This novel display utilizes a revolving drum to show
Two people
the time
have
in
subscribed
increasing
to it
15-minute
or paid for it
increments.
in the time I've been watching this
We
video.
use the best American-made Horween leather,
And it
for our
costs
straps,
$500.
with a built-in quick-release system for easy strap changes. For the past decade, we've
Sounds
delivered on our
like
promise to
something I
create
don't wanna do.
stylish, affordable, and sought-after timepieces that challenge old ideas, including the notion that the most intriguing displays are beyond reach for most watch enthusiasts. The Inverter 2 Automatic gives us a deep appreciation for the mechanics of an automatic watch. Back this project and reserve this incredible limited edition timepiece today. Back this project and reserve this incredible limited edition timepiece today.
Back this project and earn this limited timepiece today. There's a special class you can take to learn how to talk like a douchebag. Or does it just come naturally to you?
Pretty
I was
natural.
talking about the guy, not you necessarily. Rewards aren't guaranteed. What does that mean? That you could pay $500 and not get a watch? So what you're saying is you think the DCS community isn't large enough? What about DCS and Phantom community?
What's Phantom?
So the F4 fighter, right? There's a game called.
All I keep reading about is like DCS and Light Dangerous that people are playing.
Will it work with the other one? What'd you call it?
Light Dangerous or some shit. I don't know. Like whenever you look up joystick controls and stuff, it's DCS, Star Citizen, and Light Dangerous, and that's kind of the extent of what you get reviews for. And I'm guessing the Light Dangerous is like a pretty arcadey, crappy version of something.
Now for £100, you can go get a full Phantom experience and a full motion Phantom simulator. Apparently, it's not the simulator I'm looking for. Yeah, there's a game that the Thrustmaster. There's like a list of compatibility on the Thrustmaster MFD site. You can look at that site. Cougar Flying Pack. Let's see what's list here.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like the whole thing is really cool, like for the flags. But most of the people that are going to go that far with it are building standalone systems, and then you got Wing and a couple others which are selling a whole panel of the cockpit, not just the MFD.
Well, I mean, I was gonna try and build an A10 panel and put it on there as an option. I mean, that's basically what I've got here is an A10 panel. I just haven't finished it yet, but I've got the
Well, I'm talking like the whole form factor and everything, so that you can feel like you're sitting in the cockpit.
yeah. Well, I was hoping maybe to sell like any piece of the cockpit you wanted.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm just saying you already got competition at a fairly high level in that bracket.
It's called Wing.
I linked it. I linked it.
Do they sell the MFD?
Dude, I linked you the shop.
Very good. MFD unit times 3.
You know what's crazy though is you got like DKB and that group there that are the only ones manufacturing the upper end of joysticks. Like if you go to reviews, that's it. It's those two. And one of them is clearly only selling from China.
Yeah, there's no display in there thing. It doesn't look like.
Hmm.
In their MFD, it doesn't look like there
Which
is.
one?
I was looking at the Phoenix MIP. I haven't seen an MFD that had the screen. Now, there's wow, that is fancy.
A USB display.
Interesting. That costs
It looks like it has
$900.
displays in it. Nice, a good
The
trend.
the $900 one does. The $190 one does not.
Oh yeah. No, actually, no. I'm just looking at the $466 Phoenix MIP VR. Oh wait, it's VR. That's why it shows displays in it, right? It's casted from inside the unit somehow.
I don't understand what that means, but if it's VR, what's
It's using something from the cameras on the VR to tell where the MFD panels are and displaying them in
oh,
your HUD,
wouldn't
your
that be more like
VR.
AR?
I guess I don't know, but I assume that would be the case. Like it syncs up so that whenever you go to touch the button, it's actually where the button would be. Otherwise, you would have to get really clever on positioning, right? One MFD with USB 3 displays, $174. That is a much better looking product than what we have currently.
Where's one for how much?
That's probably about what we should be selling if we're not buying, Cougar Pack MFD panel and extremely overpriced LCD. You know what I mean? Like cost wise, you should be able to sell at that point if you're doing your own buttons and your own LCD from a wholesale vendor. And then it's using a USB display panel, which I'm not quite understanding what exactly that means. I'm assuming it's just a USB pass through.
IPS USB mini screen 5-inch IPS PC CPU data monitor USB Type C.
I mean, it would have to be pass through, or they would have to have some kind of dedicated simple GPU or something, right? With a USB conduit for connection.
Yeah, that's definitely doesn't say the dimensions of it.
I'm sure it does somewhere. Maybe under the tab that says dimension.
117. It doesn't. In the manual though, it says 117 millimeters by 149 millimeters.
It's closer to 5-inch then. I'm just curious about the USB display. If it has to have HDMI pass through, or if it's some kind of proprietary USB display. Because a lot of systems don't support USB pass through.
That's
A lot of
four.
AMD systems don't support it at all.
It's 4.5 inches by 6 inches. It looks like 1024 by 760.
Again, the more interesting thing there to me is the USB display.
Yeah, it says on the back of it, it says 5-volt power, 12-volt power, USB 3.0 to PC, HDMI. Interesting.
So that's the HDMI pass through then.
Yeah.
Wonder how many people have bought it and then realized that their computer doesn't support that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I
So,
mean, even at the smaller form factor, they're selling it at, I don't even know what you put on the Kickstarter, but I'm guessing about a third of the price or less.
I haven't put anything up yet, but it was the one set of two was $500.
I guess for a single, then that's not bad.
And it'll work,
Within reason.
unlike this one, which might or might not work.
Yeah, assuming you have enough HDMI ports for it.
We have a USB-C, pluggable USB 3. Yeah, so what it boils down to is I'm going to have to design a thinner case that can hold a USB display and all the buttons and the circuit board and make it more like that. I don't know. I think this is a good product. I mean,
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying apparently you didn't know there was going to be a high level competition there.
no, I figured there was going to be competition. I didn't know that there was exactly the same
I
thing.
mean, already a high level simulation seller, wholesaler, or whatever, retail seller that is selling whole cockpits and the frames too. I think they even sell the whole frame for that. It's like a whole cockpit or something. Could be wrong.
USB powered LCD, IPS LCD, 2 inches and 1465.
Yeah, if you could find like a ones that's got like the USB powered LCD with the IPS built into that and an HDMI port, that would be your ideal. You know what I mean? Because then you can offer the either or option. And you could probably integrate your button controller into that USB 3.
And the resolution on this one's better than the one that I bought. Not much.
I mean, if it does 800 by 600, then it's what it should be. That's a widescreen monitor. You need squares, 4:3.
Is this? No, it is.
It is not. It is widescreen. It's
Yeah,
800 by 480, bro.
16 by 9. Yeah. I was just looking. It was the cheapest one I saw. Here's someone selling 1 MFD of the Thrustmaster used on eBay. Nice. 35 bucks. That's $10. So LCD. Where? Yeah.
I think where you need to start is you need to start with the circuit for the buttons. And then once you know the dimensions of the frame that you can work within, the rest of it is just how deep do you need it for the monitor and controller board for the rest of the case.
What I need is someone here with the 3D printer. What I need is someone here with the 3D printer, so I don't have to ask you to do it and mail it here. I could work with it.
I'm not disagreeing with that at all. I'm definitely not going to be creating anything.
Yeah, a lot of these USB powered ones are widescreen aspect ratio.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be more prevalent.
That is dirt cheap. 5-inch IPS USB power for $39. $1024 by 600. That's still widescreen, isn't it?
Yeah. No, bro, it ain't been that long since we had nothing but 4:3 monitors.
What's that called? Standard aspect?
4:3.
Yeah. Instead of wide. That's 3.5 inch in standard aspect ratio. That's a bit on the small side.
Mm-hmm.
Eight inch, 4x3, 800 by 600. $5.
I'd say your best bet would be to find somebody with the LCD with like a whatever the proprietary ribbon connection is, and then just finding yourself the USB 3 power and IPS controller board. Ooh. You said something about using 40 gauge wire. After you said that, I was thinking, man, I used 24 and I could just barely manage to see what the fuck I was doing with solder on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had a hell of a time getting it to actually stick to those button pins since I had such a small area to even work with after it stuck through that plastic frame.
Let's contact somebody in China, like that guy that made the displays I used already in the prototypes, and ask him to make me something specific.
Huh?
Said reach out to the guy in China that I bought the LCDs from to make the prototype and see if he can make me something specific. He said he would just send me the LCDs with no controller cards, just for $21 at the 7-inch LCD with no controller card. But I would have to find a USB controller, USB power, and
I don't think those are as difficult as you seem to be allowing. Like I imagine that board's already just what, a 5-volt power pack or something.
yep, that's what it is.
So it's literally just soldering the USB plug onto the board, the controller board probably. Because you've already got the voltage. You just need the plug, literally, in place of the whatever, the barrel.
Be right back. Oh,
Oh, really?
really?
I was pretty uh, surprised at just how easy it was to make that. Aside from soldering the wires, the making the MFD was really straightforward on the Arduino.
The MFD that has the buttons and the LCD, the only one that I see that's available, it looks like it costs $263.
Yeah, is there?
No, there's one that's 174.
I'm just curious if selling a retail product with an Arduino as the controller would be frowned upon or not. I mean, there's plenty of retail products that are sold with with a
What?
Raspberry Pi
Yeah.
running
What
it.
selling what retail product?
Your MFDs. So if you use an Arduino to run the button controls on it.
I was just gonna make the MFD all by itself.
Do what?
I was just gonna print the front cover and wire up the buttons myself and make an MFD like that.
That's what I'm saying. But you're gonna have to either
Oh, you mean
have
me
a dedicated
selling?
controller or
Yeah,
using
I
an
got you.
Arduino, one
I
or the
got
other,
you.
as the controller for those buttons.
Well, I mean, with the I watched somebody write some applications for the controller, and it seemed like you could pretty much custom. I mean, all it is a microchip, right? There's one microchip, and the board just makes that microchip available. It's basically that one at mega chip that you're dealing with. I'm pretty sure you can
Yeah, no,
customize
I
it
know,
anyway.
I understand that's what it is, but um, like I didn't dig into it too much to see how you would get it to report as a different HID device, instead of it reporting as an Arduino Micro. Like that's how it reports in Windows as mine anyway. I'm sure that it's probably something stupid like just a constant variable you can set in that language class, whatever language that might be. I don't know what the fuck language it actually is. It looks kind of like a C++. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you would want, if you're going to resell it, you would definitely want it to report as whatever you decide your naming convention for that device is going to be.
Well, it's only $2,800 a year for that PCB software. The cat is.
I need to find me
Oh,
for
I
for
see
the
how you did the buttons now. I didn't understand, but when I zoomed in on that picture, I see the nubs of the buttons sticking through, and that's what you soldered through. So you just put the buttons on the outside, so they're not going to be like a cap or anything.
what?
I'm looking at the back of the thing that you printed.
That's just the frame that holds these switches. That's not the MFD bezel. That's just the frame that holds the switches. It actually sits
Oh,
inside another bezel that holds the actual buttons,
Okay.
which are just the same as like that panel
Yeah.
for your LCD controller thing. It's just little buttons like that, not with the little stupid nub on, but
And you
same
printed them?
principle. Yeah, it's sitting here in it. I just don't have a screw to screw that inner switch frame into the bezel so that it doesn't just fall out whenever you try to push a button or stand it up or anything.
How many buttons are on on one side of that?
It's got 30 buttons on it total.
30 total. One,
It's got the 5 at the top, 5, I think 7 at the bottom, and 9 on each side, something like that. So it's got a rocker at the top left, a rocker at the top right, rocker at the bottom left, rocker at the bottom right, and then another rocker in the very bottom line of buttons onto I think the far right of the buttons. Maybe the far left, one or the other. And then there was a hole punch out for an actual dial knob, but I didn't put the dial knob on. I'm not going to. I actually made a bezel that had it completely blocked out that I was going to reprint because this one, the bezel I printed this time did not turn out very good because I had to print it upside down. So I had a lot of supporting running into those button cavities, and Loretta had to sit over there and grind shit out of them because the buttons wouldn't move freely. So I was going to reprint it face down so that the button area comes out nice and clean.
And those joystick supports that you printed, they hold the joysticks just fine out of that plastic.
I've been using those ones with that teeth light for however long I've had it now, a couple of weeks. Had one of them crack and break, but it's through my own stupid fault because I actually printed them upside down. So whenever I bolted the joysticks to those frames, I was like, none of these holes line up. And that's why they didn't line up, because I printed the shit upside down.
Can you send
But
me
anyway, because I put too much pressure in one of the areas on it, one of them actually has split in half now, but I can still use it. It's just, I got to line it up and get it in the track now because it's 2 pieces.
Can you send me the file that you used to print that bezel and that switch holder? Or tell me where I can download it.
I think that's it. Maybe that's not it, actually. Hang on. That one's got 2 dials on it. Fuck. There it is. I should have printed my buttons in gray, but I'd already started printing before I thought anything through. So whatever, I got black buttons. For this one. I got 3. I ended up getting 3 Arduinos for $10, so it's not like I can't make another one or whatever later.
You got what for 10 bucks?
I 3 of those Arduinos for $10.
Yeah, that's what I got too.
And a fucking shit ton of buttons.
The
literally.
Leotardo ones?
I don't know. They're 4-pin buttons. 150 of them for like $6.
No. The Arduino, was it the Leotardo one?
It is Osoyo. OSOYOO. So far, it feels pretty. It's been solid enough, like the USB connection ain't come loose or nothing, which is the main issue I read was happening to people. Not with this one, with those off-brand Pro Micros in general. What was yours? This one? These are USB 3.
They're not USB
or
3.
USB-C.
They're not.
Sorry, USB-C connectors.
Mine are the Leotardos with mini or micro.
These
USB.
were USB-C, which turned out to be much better than I was expecting to deal with. Because I was like, oh shit, I'm going to have to try and find a micro USB cable that I don't have hardly any of anymore.
Okay. Can you print me one and send it to me?
Hmm?
Can you print me one and send it to me? The same one that you just wired up. Maybe I can make a model.
Really, dude?
Paper.
Like,
Because what I want to do is take that and adjust it to fit 7-inch LCD with.
I'm pretty sure that one's going to fit a 7-inch in it. Let me see. I have a ruler here. It is 6 and 7/8 horizontal, or not horizontal, corner to corner on the opening. But yeah, you could, in theory, you could make it just a full 7, but I'm guessing that little bit of that 1/8 inch of difference isn't going to be the end of the world in aligning something. I know what I mean. The problem is like you really need to get those into one thing, one body. You know what I mean? So you realistically, you just need to design your bezel
Like the wind,
from the ground up,
Yeah.
and then add your box to it.
Yeah.
I mean, cutting the holes and stuff in it for buttons is not going to be a big deal. Creating the depth for the button board and everything else is more of a challenge because you've got all these different vendors of buttons and depths and widths and everything else. So you got to decide what you're going to use, and it's going to be that specific size that you use for the button. And then from there, how deep you need to have standoffs to hold your hopefully circuit board for your buttons. Because if it's not a circuit board for it, that's going to blow. You know what I mean?
I do. Because if we could do this, then in theory we could do the MFD for the AH-64, the F-16, the A-10, and the
Well,
one you fly.
what you want to do is you want to look at how that Wind Wing has done theirs, and you can see that like
Looks like it's generic.
there's micro buttons in there to where like even the Apache MFD could be used because you've got
Yeah,
extra buttons in between.
on the bump, it's a the bump in between the buttons.
Yeah, the bump in between each buttons was also a button.
Yeah.
Is what it looked like on that Wind Wing one. But there are like some sort of interesting designs. Like there was one guy that had made one that's 6 buttons across the top for the Apache, and instead of adding a whole extra button in the center of the 5, he made one that was kind of a split button, so it had like just 2 smaller buttons in the middle. Granted, that's not going to line up with the displays at that point if you've got the MFD actually showing up in there, right?
High precision industrial molded keycaps.
He also need you to make you a silicone mold for the buttons instead of having hard buttons.
And not only that, at the wire micro LEDs into each switch too.
Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, if I was you, I would look for a button that you can just stick the LEDs in. Like I know that there's even micro ones out there that can have an LED light in it, but it looked like they were selling the LED separate on them or some shit. I don't know.
Well, let's find out
I
how
didn't spend a lot of
Thrustmaster
time
does it.
looking at it.
I'm going to take apart this extra Thrustmaster one I've got right here. Yeah, they do.
Extra Thrustmaster.
This other Thrustmaster MFD controller I've got right here.
Why do you have an extra?
I gave one to Philip, and I bought another set with the money he gave me for the MFD that I built for him. I mean, I don't have another LCD screen for this one, so I mean, I took it apart before though. It's not like I can't put it back together. I was just saying I'm going to look and see how.
It's probably in the Switch if I was betting.
Yeah, I would think so.
But then again, aren't they like always on?
Yep.
Well, it might just be an actual strip in there then or something. All the way around it. Instead of being in the Switch. I don't know.
Well, I've got it on the camera on my stream. I'm going to take it apart.
Well, I'm not watching your stream, so that's a shame.
Oh my gosh.
I don't need to see, dude. I'm just making fun of the fact that you're saying you've got it on camera.
It's just my clever way of begging for Isn't this how people build products? They take other people's products apart.
But yeah, like I would just find the screen you want to use and then build your panel around it, like in 3D. Or you don't even have to do it. You know, you don't even have to wait till you've got it. Like you just draw it out in CAD.
Need to order direct from China in bulk. That's probably going to be. That's probably how WinWing does it. You know, that's probably how they get their MFD USB screens for their MFDs. I doubt they order
Yeah,
from an American vendor.
good chance. But the problem is it's an investment at that point.
Well, I mean, I'm already 1,600 in the hole on this, though.
How?
All the different shit I've bought. All right. So
Yeah, but
there,
how did you get that far in the hole with what you're doing? I don't understand that.
there's a PCB in here that is made exactly like the channels on each side.
You know, actually, that instead of it being in the buttons, assuming they have a PCB running the length of the frame for every button for the buttons to attach to or something, then there's probably just LEDs spaced out around it or something.
Yeah. We're about to find out as soon as I can find a screwdriver to fit this other screw. Retainer, a plastic retainer that's screwed in that holds the circuit. Yeah, that's what did it. It's the flux capacitor. They have silicon molded buttons. They have micro LEDs soldered into the board.
Do I?
So they don't have switches, they have contacts, like a keyboard contact and a ring. So it's like,
Silicon keyboard contacts.
yeah, it's like made into the PCB. And there's a light in the
Yeah.
middle of the ring, a mini LED.
Yeah, makes sense.
Which I can't see. It's so bright that I can't even make out.
Be much cheaper creating those silicon PCB punch buttons.
Yeah, it's just
That means they probably only got like $10 in each one of those.
if that, it's just two metal
If that.
contacts that the keyboard, the silicone key makes continuity between it happen, you know?
Yeah, sort of no, but no. Yeah.
Here, hold on, I'm turning on my camera. Maybe I'm turning.
I know what you're talking about, dude. I've cleaned keyboards before.
I mean, these are very specific. They're not exactly like keyboards. They're specifically made for this. Like, it's got a little metal contact in the rubber cap, and then it's got a wire ring with a LED in the middle of it, like a micro LED. and so the rubber cap sits on top of it, and you push it down, and that makes that contact right there. So, I mean, that's a really simple PCB design, though. I assume these are resistors for the LEDs.
Maybe for the buttons.
But the problem is in LCDs on 5-volt USB or 3.2-volt USB is they burn out. So that's the reason you add a resistor onto them. We can find out, though, if it is a resistor.
If it's a resistor, you ought to be able to read it, right?
That's what I'm doing right now.
No, I mean literally read it.
Oh, no, it's like
They have the rings or whatever.
It's not that kind of resistor. It's a manufactured PCB resistor. It's like it's made for this circuit board. Like if you look at a motherboard, like the resistors that are on the motherboard aren't ringed like the ones you add to your electronics, you know. But in a power supply, they are ringed. Like the capacitors had the farad printed on them, and the resistors, you could see the rings for the ohms on it. But if you look at a motherboard, it's different. And these are like motherboard resistors. They're tiny. I mean, assuming that is a resistor. It's showing continuity, so maybe it's not. Maybe it's diode. Like I'm not testing low enough resistance.
See, I wish I'd had that circuit board instead of having to solder all this shit. That's what I needed, was just a square socket board with the channels in it.
Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense.
It just needs 11 contacts. It would be all you need.
This is interesting. They double-sided taped this on at the bottom corner. What is this? Why have they done here? Oh, it's a connection. It's a connection to make it. So they printed it, and then they connect the corners here. But these are continents right here. Yeah. It's like a weird connector. So they printed it, but it's not all the way around, and there's a gap in it. There's a gap on one side of it, and they made a little jumper board to make the connection go all the way around it. It's like,
I mean, I would be all right with that. If I could just find like 11 channel PCB at the right width, that would have been so much fucking easier. I wouldn't have cared to solder, little jumpers in the corners versus the disaster of wiring I've got right now. I mean, maybe 24 gauge was a bit excessive, but
I think these are the
I think the biggest problem is it's the silicone covering is like really thick.
What silicone covering?
On the wires I use, because it's just 24 wire, but the silicone coverings were pretty thick.
Yeah, these are 195 ohm resistors for the LEDs right here. Yeah, there's one on each one. So they designed it with the wires for each switch running down these pathways, and then they added a resistor on each one for the LED. There's something else right here. It looks like a tiny micro resistor. I don't know what that is. It says R42, so I assume it's another resistor.
It's probably a resistor on the button, because like whenever you go to like some of these Arduino uh, wiring schematic sites, they have resistors that get inserted with the buttons whenever you put them on. For some reason, I couldn't figure that out, why they were putting a resistor on a button that's just making a contact point from one pin to another.
And down here on the output to the USB, it's all resistors except for two, I guess, capacitors, C22 and C23. And there's two diodes. It's pretty simple. And it's just a USB controller. Sure. So, like, I wouldn't even have to make the USB controller part in theory. I could probably get a pre-designed USB controller. Just edit it.
I mean, the Arduino is a good starting point for the USB HID, but yeah, I would, if it was me, I would prefer to see a dedicated design for that. And a finalized product. Proprietary design, whatever.
Yeah. Got Blender license?
No. Why would I?
Free? Oh, it is free. Sure, this is a common design. The metal contact button with the LED in the middle. I'm sure I could probably find a pre-laid out circuit board design for that, or at least for one example. And then I can copy and paste that to where I need it to get a workable PCB. And then,
I mean, all you really need is a PCB that's the right length. And if you were going to do LED, you would want, 13 pathways, positive and a ground for the LEDs, right? So you need 11 for 30 buttons, and then a positive and a ground for LED.
yeah. These buttons have to be wired like that because there's only 2 wires going to the top button set. It's got to be wired in a setup like we've been doing, where we build a button matrix.
Oh, no doubt. I'm sure it's a button matrix of some kind there.
The question is, can I get a predefined circuit board set up for a USB hookup and then write to the ROM on there, EEPROM, and program it to control it like this one, instead of having to get a full Arduino and do it. I guess we're getting into integrated design at that point. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would think the basis of where you want to get is you would want to get to where it's a compact enough design with an Arduino controlling it. And then, all you got to do is figure out how to create the EEPROM USB controller with the button matrix programming in it, which is probably not as difficult as one might imagine, I would think. The driver side of that might be most of it. I don't know.
Hey, did you see my suppressor that I finally got?
I saw it looked like you shot yourself.
You see my suppressor that I finally got? Pretty exciting.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it goes thwack, 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 thwack. And popped off a bunch of
Haven't been
rounds.
outside shooting in it, have you?
I have. Sounds like an air rifle. If I got some subsonic rounds, or if I loaded some subsonic rounds, it would probably be super quiet. I haven't gotten around to it yet. My nuts fell out.
Is that so when you go hunting Yogi Berra out there, he doesn't hear that he's dying?
Exactly. So I don't wake the neighbors when I shoot Yogi Bear. They don't call the police on me, so I can just haul Yogi Bear's body off without
Yeah,
alerting
good
the
luck with
neighborhood.
that.
I can get a chain hoist, load them up in the back of the SUV. Got a trailer. One of my nuts fell out. I hate it when my nuts fall out. Where's it at? Everything is magnetic, so probably stuck to something. Gotta be around somewhere. Like, well, damn it. It's not on here. Edit. You're a good dog. You're a good dog. Good dog. Drop it on the floor. Yeah, so the way I'm looking at this right now, like this MFD that I built, I could have put every bit of this in the bezel. No, I couldn't. Actually, the LCD screen is wider than the button circuit board is. It had to be designed specifically to make it a little wider. Oh, Jesus. Can you tell me something honestly, Ben? I know you're not afraid of telling me how you
Honesty,
feel.
yes. I'm like the boss of that, sir. You should know this by now. If you don't want an honest answer, then you're asking the wrong person.
Am I wasting my time? Is this stupid? You think this has any potential at all, or am I just wasting?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
I mean, the only thing I can say from looking around is it should be at a very high level. Otherwise, the word of mouth is just going to lead towards other vendors. That's all over Reddit and stuff about ways to do that and everything. I mean, there's obviously a market for people buying it, or Thrustmaster wouldn't still be making them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But whether there's a market at the price point, including an LCD monitor, I don't know. Because it seems like from reading through forums and stuff that the majority of people who are contributing, at least to the discussions, are just playing in VR anyway.
I saw a guy playing on the stream the other night. He had a full cockpit set up, and he was playing with a VR helmet. And I'm like,
Yeah.
isn't that pointless? Can't you just sit on your couch and play with a VR helmet? I mean, you have to guess where the buttons are. You have to remember where all the buttons are if you're going to use your real buttons instead of the VR buttons.
I mean, it would have to be, you'd have to do your alignment every time you start the game to make sure that things sort of fall where they would be in the game.
Where
I
you're
would think.
looking, yeah. Guess I've just lost that fucking nut.
Wow. That sounds pretty accurate.
That's the support that holds the. Maybe it's under the circuit board. The support that holds the base on. It's held on by two rotating thumb screws, and they go into a nut that's fixed in place inside the plastic casing. When you take the plastic casing apart, the nuts fall out. I knew this. I still let it fall out. Oh, it did fall inside there. Nice. All right, that's back together. This is back together. Thing is, what kind of memory is on this circuit board? Is it just EEPROM? Is it ROM? I mean, I assume it's under this black piece of glob they globbed on the circuit board to hide the proprietary controller or whatever, but
I imagine the processing and memory needed to run that simple key matrix there is much smaller than what the Arduino Micro could actually run. So it's probably just tiny shit.
well, I mean, if you look at the comparison in size,
an all-in-one chip.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if it's an all-in-one chip, it would fit under there because all they need to put under there is the microcontroller, so it could fit right there. And it looks like everything runs to it, so it probably is some kind of microcontroller. It's probably just smaller than that one. This USB cord does not want to fit in there. Maybe I have it in there sideways. That's fine. Square. They put enough screws on this thing. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 screws to hold the casing together. Guess they want pressure on the back of each piece of the circuit board to make sure that when you push the button, you get contact. Otherwise, be less screws.
Contact.
Like that. Custom MFD here. We could put this bracket on the back of it. Not sure it'll fit that. You should buy an assortment of M2, 3, 4, 5 screws, and they come in super handy.
I have several assortments of them. I just didn't have wood screw threaded type thing, self-threading, whatever. I also need to reprint my bezel because this one doesn't have any way to attach anything to it.
Will you send me that one then if you reprint it so I can use that placeholder?
No, it's not helpful, bro. You're going to have to design this. You're not going to be able to just take this random shit I'm pulling off the internet and make a professional product out of it.
Well, if I'm good enough to design, bro.
Huh?
I don't know if I am good enough to design it. That's what I'm saying.
It's math.
I don't do maths no good.
Measuring. Ain't got no gas. I mean, all you gotta do is create you a box that is 7 inches horizontal in a 4:3 ratio, and then build your frame around that. But you're gonna have to have CAD files anyway, because at some point, 3D printing the enclosure is not feasible anymore. You're gonna need to have it injection molded or something.
Yeah, I know. Hey, looking at this controller, since I got this apart, looking at this LCD controller, it looks a lot like an Arduino.
There's a good chance it is.
You see this? Doesn't that look like an Arduino? Got one big microcontroller in the middle.
I mean, it probably is of some sort. It's just a matter of which version of Arduino it is. Can you read on it? The chip?
Got the same symbol that the app Mega chip has on it. It says Taiwan.
Durr.
Get my flashlight here.
Careful. You wouldn't want to shoot yourself through the hip again, trying to look at a chip with your pistol.
That's funny. Fingers crossed it goes in my head. Oh my god. The light is too bright. N7AJ2G1. Yeah, it just says Taiwan and has a manufacturer number on it. N7AJ2G1. I don't know. Question is, can I get the LCD and everything in there and still fit the bezel and circuitry? I mean, I could sell it like this in this form, and it's a perfectly viable product, right? Before we design a custom form.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, you can sell what you're doing, sure. It's just driving the marketplace to it. You might only sell one or two every 6 months at this rate.
This works. That's not my chair. Thank you, dog, for pushing my chair back. Making me fall on my ass. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20. 1, 2, 7, 28. All 28 switches work. Helldivers?
Nah, good.
Get a 19-inch Dell monitor for $25.
Uh-huh. I saw a couple of controllers for like $15, but they looked like they were locked into widescreen resolutions.
That's all I can find is widescreen. What do we really need? We don't really need a 7-inch. If I were to talk to a manufacturer in Taiwan, we don't really need a 7-inch, right? Because the way the button MFD panel is right now,
I mean, you would have to buy like, what, 9-inch to have the same vertical? If you're thinking
here,
about like barring off some of it.
yeah, here is the same thing we're building on eBay. A little bit better designed for $300, $270, and it's from China, so it takes 2 months to get there. But it looks all right.
Hello and welcome back.
You know, I think that might be that first one I linked you. Where did those go? Where did I link those to you from?
You like something in general chat?
Yeah, I'm almost positive that's that first one. Because it's got the 2 dials, same button count, same raised beveling on the around the buttons. That's that bezel, but they've used their own buttons. It looks like. I think the reason I didn't use this one was it didn't have the board to hold buttons. So I was gonna have to figure out my own solution for that. So that one's modeled for a 5-inch. Is that what that one's selling? He's selling a 5-inch.
I don't know.
Doesn't really even say. There looks to be a lot of people trying to sell those, though, on eBay.
Not cheap.
Well, there's a bunch of that in the mid-hundreds. Further down, if you'd scrolled down. And the you may also likes.
Oh my god. Thanks for watching. We made it this far. I'll be streaming tomorrow night at 10 p.m.